Welcome back to the Dish and Swish podcast. I'm Trevor Trost here with Amadeus Peterson. We're back in the studio.
We're back in the studio. It's been like 3 weeks.
It has.
But we're back to the floral couch. We've missed it.
We have. I know I have. I mean, I've been on vacation, but man, I missed this couch, man.
Hey, but we're always putting pods out. Like, nonetheless, if we're here, if we're on the other side of the globe, it's coming out on Tuesday.
It
so,
is. Rain,
so
storm,
always
shine,
stay
baby.
tuned for the Dish and Swish pod coming out in the morning.
Yeah. So, wow. There's a lot we could get into. Let's kind of give a little rundown of what we got coming up today. Obviously, we had our game of the week last week. We kind of want to touch back on that and then give our game of the week this week. As always, we want to go for our random news, our Dish and Swish draft, some other stories thrown in there as well. And then we kind of have some more content coming out. Give us a little insight on what we have coming up here outside of just the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we want to get up close and personal and kind of share our experience and our love for the game. So we're going to be putting out some more social media stuff and trying to, share our love for the game in that way. So yeah, stay tuned on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
And we'll have lots of new content hopefully in these next coming weeks. So stay tuned for that so you can enjoy that. But I say we get into it. This is our first week. Let's
do it.
A full week of NBA basketball. So we're talking about the Lakers versus the Nuggets.
Yeah, so that was, it seems like forever ago now because
Yeah.
we've had so much NBA games. But our opening night, Lakers Nuggets, was kind of our game to watch. We're kind of going to transition so it's a little more recent for you guys when we release these. So we'll kind of start choosing games that are closer to when we record so that it's not having to think back. But obviously that one was pretty memorable because I think a lot of people tuned in because it was opening night.
Yeah.
LeBron was on a minutes restriction. 28?
Yeah.
32?
So Darvin Ham has decided that during the season they really want to make sure that LeBron's fresh, that he has his legs come playoff time, because that was obviously a problem last year. He was on a bad ankle for most of the playoffs. And so they're keeping him to a 28 to 32 minute restriction every single night. And so that was in full effect during the Nuggets game. He only played 29 minutes, but yeah, lots of stories to get into in this game, to be honest.
It was an interesting game. My thing I wanted to watch was who was going to get the minutes for the Lakers storyline, was who was going to get the minutes alongside the other AD, LeBron, Reeves. And what did we see?
Yeah, we saw Taurean Prince step up, and he made 6 threes, I think. He scored 18 points.
All threes?
All threes.
Nice.
He's a 3-and-D guy. That's what he's known for, and it kind of seems like Taurean Prince is going to be the guy that the Lakers go to, even when Jared Vanderbilt comes back. I think this game kind of solidified him as the starter, at least for now. And so that's also a storyline to watch as a Lakers fan, to who's going to be in that starting role in it. And for now, it seems like Taurean Prince has kind of made a name for himself.
Yeah. They got some other names like we talked about with Hachimura and Christian Wood and Gabe Vincent, our other guys on the bench. But Taurean Prince really kind of, I think, set himself above.
Yeah.
So we'll see moving forward if he's continuing to play. I don't want to say I had read something this week that it talks about like the fourth quarter minutes are the most important minutes. So
yeah.
not necessarily the majority of minutes, but who's playing down the stretch. So that's kind of where, when the game's on the line, who's in the game.
Yeah.
And obviously it changes from game to game and different lineups for different positions. But for the most part, most teams stick with their closing lineups pretty consistently. So it'll be interesting to see who they have. And for the Nuggets, got the 119-107 win.
Yep.
It was pretty handily.
Yeah.
We had talked about the battle of the stars, LeBron and AD, versus Jokic and Murray. And LeBron and AD obviously got bested.
Yeah.
We can kind of go into AD a little bit before we get into the Nuggets, I guess. 17 points, but
all in the first half.
None in the second half.
It looked like he was playing him, pretty even, you could say, in the first half, and then it just seemed like they went to a double team. They sent the double in the second half every single time, and it didn't seem like he was, he was passing the ball. But I think as a player as good as Anthony Davis, you need to have the confidence to shoot over the double team and get your shots, even even when they're throwing different coverages at you.
Oh, for sure. It's kind of interesting because he has to be the guy. Like he has to step up.
Yeah.
They don't have another big name star besides AD.
Mm-hmm.
So he has got to be the guy. He can't. It's just unacceptable to do.
Yeah.
And Colin Cowherd, I don't know if you saw what he said this past week. He said Anthony Davis is like the McDonald's ice cream machine. He's amazing when he works, but it's only about 50% of the time. So, and I mean, he was right.
Yeah.
You just can't. Yeah. I don't know. He's got to step up big time, and he's proven he's one of the best players in the NBA when he does. But for me, it's hard because he's just so inconsistent, and I don't know. I get a little frustrated.
Yeah. Especially with LeBron on a minutes restriction. I mean, the Lakers pulled this team together so that they would be good when LeBron's on the bench. But as we saw in this game, they were +7 with LeBron on the court and -19 with him off the court. So kind of a huge discrepancy and definitely not what the Lakers were looking for.
Yeah, well, good. That's what I wanted. No, I was hoping the Nuggets would win. We've kind of talked about it. The Nuggets are a solid team. So let's kind of get into them. What kind of storylines were we looking at with the Nuggets?
Yeah, I mean, it's very common. It's a very common thing after winning an NBA Finals is you come back the next season and maybe a little bit lethargic. I mean,
ring night?
It was on ring night.
Yeah.
You know, game one of your next season after winning a Finals is ring night. And so most teams usually are very focused on getting the ring, and it kind of looks like when they play that they're not very engaged or focused. But that was the complete opposite. The Nuggets looked locked in. They looked like they're picking up right where they left off come a season ago. And so it was very interesting to see the focus that the Nuggets were able to keep on opening night.
It's just a well-oiled machine. Like they execute and they execute and they execute. It just happens time and time again. I mean, we could talk about, the best player in the world. I think to me, obviously, and we've talked about it in the past, 29, 13, and 11 for the two-time former MVP. It's just ridiculous what he does on a nightly basis. Yeah. He had some other great highlights throughout the week. I mean, we could talk about the one-handed inbounds pass to an alley-oop. Yeah. People don't understand how incredible that pass was. He's just doing things on a nightly basis that are just incredible. They beat the Thunder this weekend. It's just they're 3-0 so far when we're recording this, and it's just they show no signs of slowing down.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could continue to get into the Nuggets and their lineup, but we've talked about them in the past, and everyone that we expected to be good for the Nuggets has played.
Yeah.
KCP balled out.
Yeah, he put up 21 points. And I guess one thing that I saw is that the Nuggets late in the game went to they put Jokic at the high post, and then they were running a double down screen between Jamal Murray and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope into a dribble handoff with Jokic, and it just seemed like no one could stop it just because Jokic is such a good decision maker that he always makes the right play, and they were knocking down shots. KCP and Jamal Murray were both hitting shots off that dribble handoff, and so it's hard to defend them when they're running just such simple sets, but yet are so effective and unguardable.
When you're putting a 7-footer who's not only one of the best passers in the world, but just one of the best decision makers in the world at this sport in a dribble handoff in a DHO, the outcomes it's so hard to guard if you have a guy who's super versatile like Jokic, because there's so many options off of a dribble handoff, right? You got back cuts, you got front cuts, you got all, or he hands it off, or he fakes. There's so many different outcomes. So if you have a lot of movement like the Nuggets do, it's just tough to stop. They're looking good. I saw these people talking about all the other big debuts, which we can kind of get into real quick. Of the other teams, the Bucks looked good. Damian Lillard had was it 39?
39, yeah.
Yeah, 39. Who else? Celtics looked good.
Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah. So there's all these contenders. All the contenders looked solid.
Yeah.
But man, if I was a betting guy, the Nuggets are just. I'm telling you, you never bet against a team, a well-oiled machine. Their starters are the same as last year. These guys are just running it back. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it looked like they hadn't even missed a beat. Usually, there's a little rust to shake off. Yeah. No, they looked crisp. So, yeah, that was a fun game to watch. We're looking forward with our contenders. Kind of before we get into this upcoming game of the week, I kind of want to ask you.
Yeah.
We've watched a lot of amazing highlights, dunks, everything from the week, and we're kind of going to get into side content videos of those. Yeah. But did this week's games, we're through a full week.
Yeah.
Has your view changed on MVP or Rookie of the Year?
I think I'm still sticking the same. I think Jokic has played amazing, and then I guess my dark horse candidate was Kevin Durant, and he's also looked great in these games as a Sun, playing without Devin Booker and Bradley Beal for the majority of the games. He's looked great. And then for my Rookie of the Year, I said Victor Wembanyama, and even though he's gotten foul trouble his first game, he looked very comfortable in the clutch. He hit some big shots down the stretch.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought he was going to beat the Mavs single-handedly in his first game.
Yeah, which
was impressive for a 19-year-old.
Yeah, again, if I was a betting man, I'd say that he's probably most likely. But man, I'm still feeling good about mine too.
Okay.
I saw Chet have 6 blocks in a game,
mm-hmm.
and I still think he's got a good shot to win it. So we'll see. But I agree. Jokic looks good. Who's my dark horse? Shai's looked solid. He's had a couple a rough game, but
like today.
Today, yeah, when we were recording this, but 2 for 16. But he's such a good player. He'll bounce back. But
yeah,
I feel good about Jokic and Chet. So we'll see. We'll update it kind of throughout the the episodes to see if anything changes. But kind of wanted to see after our first week where we're.
We want to be held accountable.
We do want to be held accountable. If we're wrong,
we're making these predictions. You can let us know about it if we're wrong.
Freezing cold takes expose us, please. So yeah, but the storylines are just going to get better and better. We've had some good ones. Upcoming game of the week.
Yeah, we got Bucks versus Knicks this upcoming Friday. It's the start of the in-season tournament, the first year ever, and so tune in. It's going to be on ESPN, 7:30 Eastern start. And so some of the storylines to look there, what are we looking at, Trevor?
Yeah, obviously it's the beginning of the in-season tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a new thing. No one really kind of knows how that's going to go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of incentives behind the scenes and obviously that are out in front. So we'll see if the players, how serious they take it.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it adds a little more competitiveness. And then, yeah, Dame and Giannis. I'm still interested to see how they work out. The first couple games, they've looked really good together.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's so hard to get meshing really early.
Yeah.
Dame, in his 39-point debut, didn't particularly shoot well
Mm-mm.
from the field overall. I think he was like 9 for 27 or something. Yeah. But he was 17 for 17 from the line. So that's unreal. But I would like to see him be more efficient. But I want to watch the Bucks because of that. Like that is such a must-watch team.
Yeah, I was watching the Bucks a little bit, and Adrian Griffin put in a play that I really liked. He put in a really high horns ball screen, like near the logo, and so it makes big men like come out of drop coverage because you have Damian Lillard who can shoot the ball from 35 plus feet, and you just have 2 shooters in the corner, and it kind of like looked like another action that's going to be a tough one for teams to guard, just like the Nuggets.
Yeah, we had talked about it. Just Dame and Giannis being such. Like they're gonna free each other up. They started double teaming Damian Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
When you have Giannis on the floor,
yeah,
like what? So that's gonna be. They're gonna both benefit from each other, because they're both such good players. And I thought Dame, he's getting older. I wanted to see how he'd adjust, but it's looking good so far. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And then on the Knicks side,
mm-hmm.
They're off to a little bit of a shaky start.
Yeah. So. Recording this, they're 1-2. I think they're playing right now. They're playing the Pelicans and they're losing, looking like it's going to be 1-3. So I think the Knicks have playoff hopes. They played well last year with Jalen Brunson, making it past the Cavs into the second round, and so they have aspirations of doing much more. And so let's see if they can right the ship. This will be a big game for them if they can beat the Bucks, and so it will be a good, very important game to tune into. If you're a Knicks fan as well.
I just laughed. The Knicks, They're just such an interesting built team.
Yeah.
They have good players. I really am a big fan of Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
I have been ever since he broke my heart and tore apart the Jazz a couple years ago. But he's such a good player and he's so disciplined. But man, they got some shot forcers and they have some dudes on their team who never feel like it's a bad shot to take. So.
They got the New York Villanova Wildcats over there.
Yeah. I like their Wildcats, but I'm talking about some lefties on their team.
Yeah.
Never see a shot that they don't like. So if they could get that efficiency turned around, I feel like they could make the playoffs again. Yeah. I think that's kind of their ceiling.
Yeah.
Right now is just a playoff team. I don't think that they'll just with the Bucks and all these other teams in the East. I just don't see them being better than the Celtics and the Bucks or the Sixers.
Probably like a 4-seed max, a 4-seed ceiling.
Yeah,
it's kind of where they're at right now.
But if they want to right the ship, starting 1-3 or worse is not the way you want to start, and that could lead a downhill slope to a very. In New York, they don't put up with that kind of stuff. No, so
they got some crazy fans out there.
Yeah,
if things aren't going well, they'll hear about it.
Dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you don't want to go down that path if you're New York. So this game on Friday is going to be big.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of things that go south quickly,
actually, yeah,
I think that segues perfectly into our random news segment for the week, and we're talking about the Chicago Bulls. So what's going down in the Windy City?
I don't even have words for what's going on. I mean, I've heard of like premature, getting a little stressed, but game one, the Chicago Bulls. If you didn't hear, it was in some major headlines. After game one, the Chicago Bulls players, their coach is Billy Donovan.
Yeah,
he went into a press conference and said they were holding a players only meeting
after game one.
They lost game one. That's a little, I don't know, premature, I guess, but I guess you want to start early, but see, and then they go on to
next game. Zach LaVine puts up a 50-piece, lose by 16.
Yeah, that's just some interesting stuff. I don't really, right? It's an 82-game season.
Yeah, so I mean, the Chicago Bulls underachieved last season. They have big players. They have big name players like DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic. They have Zach LaVine, and I think most people are picking them to not make the playoffs again this season.
This is actually bigger than just a random news segment because if this does go south quickly, I have read a lot of stuff about them being
blowing it up.
Yeah, blowing it up. So we could see some big name players, DeRozan, LaVine, all these other guys on the move if they choose to do that. So I think it's kind of, for the Bulls, a win-now situation. Like, you either make the playoffs and give us hope or these guys are gone at the deadline.
These next 20 games are going to be key to the Chicago Bulls' success in the future.
100%.
It kind of defines whether they're gonna commit to a rebuild or they're gonna commit to making the playoffs this year. So that's a story to watch in our random news this week.
Random news. I kind of wanted to add my own little segment of random news.
Yeah, let's hear it.
We had kind of talked about it a little while ago, but what is the deal with James Harden, man?
Yeah, so I mean, we have the whole story has been, he didn't show up to training camp, but he eventually showed up, right? Kind of seemed like he was gonna, just stick it out with the Sixers, and then we had the whole Daryl Morey calling him a liar, and now the Sixers have come to James Harden and told him not to even come on the road trip.
So he didn't even show up to their first practices, right? Like, he didn't even show up.
Yeah,
and they get ready to go on their road trip. Dude shows up like, I'm ready to go. I'm going. And they say security has to keep him off the airplane. So what in the what? But then Maxey goes out and has a 34 ball.
Yeah,
like multiple 30 balls.
Watch out, most improved player. Honestly, might be Tyrese Maxey this year, especially if things keep going south with James Harden.
I think if you're the 76ers, you just gotta move on. You have a budding star already.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think he's kind of looking like an idiot out there. That's why he was on my last week's, least likable players. But this just is a whole new level. And they just announced tonight he will be in attendance for the 76ers home game. I don't know what attendance means.
Is he going to be in street clothes?
I think he'll be in street clothes.
Yeah.
Did they boo him?
I mean, 76ers fans are very similar to New York fans in the fact that if things go south, I mean, we saw with Ben Simmons what they did with him. And so I think maybe we're not headed to as extreme of a situation as that, but we're headed in that direction as a 76ers organization, I think.
Yeah, James Harden and the Sixers need to figure it out quick because it's moving in a bad direction there.
Yeah.
But good direction with your bright star, 76ers, so
yeah.
Hopefully that gets figured out. But that was kind of more random news this week. Obviously,
dude, we've been doing some good things for the fans, throwing in double random news. I think that's 2 weeks in a row with double random news.
Yeah, the fans deserve it, man. We need to get more content out. We're gonna get there, and it kind of leads us to our favorite, well, my favorite segment behind random news.
Yeah, the
Dish and Swish Draft.
Mm-hmm.
Brought to you by us, actually, with our new merch.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll have new merch. Nice embroidered hoodie.
For those of you just listening, I pointed at a sweatshirt that Amadeus is wearing. It's actually quite a good-looking one. It'll be up on our website. For those of you who haven't checked out the website, check out the website.
Of course.
Got all our links there.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we're trying out some new merch. We're trying to figure out what we want to get up, so keep an eye on that. So our Dish and Swish Draft brought to you by the Dish and Swish podcast.
Wow, I love sponsoring ourselves.
We have some videos coming out this week. And we're going to give some reactions to some of the best dunks of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned to our TikTok, Instagram for those. But on that, tone, in that subject, I want to ask you, Amadeus, who your top 5 dunkers are of all time.
Okay, my top 5 dunkers of all time. Let's start off with some honorable mentions because you can't include everyone on this list, which is sad. But shout out to Sean Kemp, Aaron Gordon, LeBron James, and Dominique Wilkins. We'll give them an honorable mention because they are nice with it. They are some of the best dunkers to ever play in the league.
Facts.
But let's get into it.
Okay.
My number 5 dunker of all time, Zach LaVine.
Okay.
At number 4, Jason Richardson.
Oh, Jay Rich.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At number 3, Gerald Green.
The windmill off
off the law.
Yeah, okay.
Number
that
2,
sticks out, yeah.
Michael Jordan.
Fair.
And number 1, Vince Carter. I think it's hard to. I mean, you can mess with the order, especially 2 and below. But Vince Carter for me is for sure solidified himself as the number 1 dunker of all time.
Yeah, I mean Vince is nice. There's some guys. I think you could have thrown in, some Blake Griffin. DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
Had some good ones.
It depends what you look for in a dunk.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I think, man, for me, Sean Kemp has got to be up there. He has some of the most.
If we're talking poster dunks.
Yeah,
Sean Kemp is nice.
He has some just ridiculous highlights.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched Sean Kemp, go look up his highlights. For the Sonics, man.
Yeah. or like Shaq, someone who just like powerful, like a powerful dunker like Shaq or someone like that. Or Dwight Howard, his dunk contest was crazy. Okay. Right now, sorry.
We're not talking about
we're not talking about Dwight Howard.
But, there are some guys for sure that are just nice dunkers. But I respect the list for the most part. I don't know. Sean Kemp and Blake Griffin, man, it got to be mentioned somewhere around there. Blake Griffin?
Hey, we at least gave Sean Kemp an honorable mention.
True.
Sorry, Blake Griffin. We'll throw him on there. He's a good guy.
Sounds good. So that brings us to the end of our Dish and Swish draft, and to the end of our episode. So what do we have to look forward to for the coming weeks?
Yeah, no, we're gonna keep bringing the game of the week every single week to break down what in our eyes is the most important game of the week to keep you guys updated. We'll keep going with random news, the Dish and Swish draft as always, and then we'll have merch coming. We'll have some stuff on our socials. So, good stuff to come.
Yeah, I think the big thing is, for those of you who are big, avid NBA fans, we want to get out, all this content for you guys because we love doing it and we love, hearing about reactions that we've received. from people because, it makes us feel like we're actually doing an okay job. And so we're going to have more giveaways. We're going to do those kind of things. But as far as like avid NBA fans, we want to kind of give you more shorter things, shorter videos with different TikToks, not just cuts and snippets from our podcast, but stuff outside of that. So just be tuned for those. We're going to try to get more content out there. Obviously, with the merch, like you mentioned, man,
it's nice.
It looks
it's
good.
Nice.
Where'd that come from? I got to put mine on or something.
Yeah, dude.
So yeah. We're the Dish and Swish podcast, and we'll be back next week, hopefully with some more dunks, more flying highlights, and some random news.
I will see you next week. Stay tuned.
See you next week.